most of what I do is class design stuff. This is more than just the official stuff. It's got the Blood Hunter on here as well. I'm not really going to rate the Blood Hunter stuff. Let's just move that down. I've talked a couple times about why I don't allow the Blood Hunter at my table. More so, I'm cool with the design of it right now than I was previously, but it's still, there's some narrative beats in there that just aren't really right for my table. Giant Barb is going to be last. Yep. According to what I've heard, they canned the stuff that was going to be printed in Planescape. There were going to be some subclasses that were in there, but apparently they have nixed it. So the Giant Barbarian is going to be the very, very last one. Are we focusing on the flavor, the mechanics, or a mix? A little bit of both. Basically the way that I've got this set up. Overpowered. This is an option that does something that I think fundamentally breaks down the game. Broken and non-functional. I don't think that broken is synonymous with overpowered. I think that broken, at least as I've defined it, is it has a mechanic that doesn't actually work. It's pretty rare that we're going to see something actually wind up down in here. There are very few options that are going to wind up down here because usually it's actually made it through playtest. There are a couple options that I don't think really work out all that well, just to give you a hint. But the rest of the thing may actually function itself, but usually if it gives you a feature that just doesn't do a thing, then yeah, not working as intended. Yeah, I think that Spirit's Bard is one of the few instances in which we actually saw a mechanic that doesn't work in the way that I think they intended it to. So yeah, it's going to be a bell curve. Usually, actually, the way that I have it written here. So S, these are going to be ones that are going to be very uniquely strong. They're not just doing something that is very, very good. They're doing it in a unique way. I don't, like I've said before, I don't really value damage numbers all that much. I actually think that it's stronger if you're doing something unique within the action economy, and I actually really value that a lot more. In a lot of ways, I actually really value what they did with Redemption Paladin over what I saw them do with like Hexblade, because Redemption Paladin was at least trying to kind of put a different spin on what it meant to be a paladin, right? I really, really like what they wanted to do with that, despite the fact that I don't think it's actually all that good of a subclass. But that love for what it wants to do makes it to where that uniqueness is actually kind of valuable to me. If you had a feature that said like, well, you can drop 100 damage, I would actually feel like that is like less valuable than having a feature that said you can deny something an entire turn in combat, to where it cannot take action, bonus action, reaction. Yeah. We'll just go kind of in the order of what we have here. I actually personally feel like the Battlesmith is probably closer to A, especially with the protection function is really nice, but I think it's most likely in upper B, mostly because it is still attached to the Artificer chassis. Man, this thing does come in kind of clutch, but in all honesty, I don't think the entire package is really worth being incredibly stoked about. It is very good. Isn't it the last companion class? No, I think Drake Warden, right? I think Drake Warden Ranger. The overall damage output you get out of it is pretty nice. How many hit points does it have? I always forget. I honestly, I haven't had anybody play an Artificer since it first came out, and I only played it once, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. But I just know from looking at some of the features, like that Protector used to be incredibly good. It's part of that same bonus action. I forget if it's, you can take a bonus action to cause the cannon to activate. Actually, I'm gonna scratch that. Actually, what I think was kind of the standout is probably not fantastic. Oh, Dragudo Kiri, hey, thank you so much for the $2. I got the wrong Artificer there, my friend. I think I might have been talking about the Artillerist a little bit, maybe. Wrong sub. Oh, wait, no, you're right. I am talking about the wrong thing. Hang on. Oh, shit. Wait, I was talking about Artillerist. Battlesmith is the companion class. Okay, Jesus. All right, it has been a hot second. Okay, so the Steel Defender, does it have the Smith tools with you? If you already have the Defender from this feature, the old one immediately perishes. That's right. That's right. Okay, Battlesmith is actually probably one of the weaker options. You do have another stat block that's out there on the battlefield with you, but I wouldn't say that Battlesmith does something that would necessarily put it in that D tier area, right? You get the attack twice. It is kind of bland overall. They do give you the robot dog thing that you can fight with, and it's like middling force damage. I would say that probably Battlesmith and Artillerist. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to put them in C. Man, I don't know. I think that all in all, well, no, because this is restricted to a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier too. Battlesmith, I think, is going to be viable. I think it's viable. I think it plays it incredibly safe. You do deal a lot of force damage with it. I'm just going to say decent pick. All right. I think I'm just going to say like decent pick. This is the one that I've seen go a little bit nutty because of this protector right here. But I don't think it's actually as good. If we're talking about all of 5e and how we dish out like temporary hit points and everything like that, Artillerist can't really keep up with what the Twilight Domain can do there, right? So it's not just that. It does have other features that it can do on top of that. A 15-foot cone that you designate with the 2d8 fire damage is not terrible. This doesn't use a spell slot, and this is probably worth like a freebie first level spell. Bonus action freebie first level spell is very nice. I mean, 2d8 force damage right here is actually very nice. And then it gets improved right here. Can we just put Twilight in OP right now? We'll get there. We'll get there. You and your allies do get half cover from the thing. Yeah. I think with the Artillerist, as I see it, this is the one that does the... It's an arcane focus for your Artificer spells, and it's just an additional d8 on top of the spell's damage. Yeah. I think the Artillerist, as far as all the Artificers go, I think that the Artillerist is most likely pushing it at the very, very top of B, if not pushing it up into A. I'm going to put Artillerist up here, up in B. And again, I haven't seen a whole lot of Artificers. I'll move this up here to A for right now. And if something comes along that makes me feel like Artillerist just doesn't really belong up here, we'll move it back down to B. Same thing with Battlesmith. So with Artillerist, I think that you're getting decent single target like options here for striking. The flamethrower is quite good for giving you an AoE option that is essentially like a bonus action freebie first level spell a couple times, right? Force Ballista can also push it, gives you some nice control in there. Yeah, I think that even for the fact that it is attached to the Artificer, this is probably one of the better Artificers in the game. Armorer. I actually really like what they wanted to do with Armorer, and it's kind of tricky because this is sort of like two subclasses packed into one here. Not only are you getting heavy armor on a caster like this, you're getting some of the best hard control going on in here. Like, really hard crowd control happening in here. The arcane armor has a lot of options for you here. It acts as a spellcasting focus. This is cute. The intention with this was for you to become Iron Man. The Guardian, I think, is actually pretty incredible. Getting the Thunder Gauntlets, making it to where that creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against target other than you, is giving you one of the like soft, tanky, CCs, right? Defensive field, pretty okay, but it is only you getting this, and it's kind of meh. With the Infiltrator, I think that if it were just the Infiltrator, this would probably be a little bit lower. And it could also be my bias for tanking that makes me think that the Guardian is that much better than our Gauntlets is just a better Cavalier marking, since Cavalier is restricted by being within 5 feet. The armor modification, it was a fun and cute idea. This feature right in here, just a reaction to do this much pull, and you can use it, we're about to hit 6 times, is very good. Like, huge or smaller, I mean, you can't do this on gargantuan creatures, but kind of meh. This is some really crazy hard control happening with this. I think it's notable how really, really strong that is. Yeah, I mean, 15th level, right, yeah. This is definitely less valuable because it does come online so late, but wow, that's really good. It is very, very good. The Infiltrator, getting the lightning damage from your lightning glimmers, magical light until the start of your next turn. Glimmering creature sheds dim light in a 5-foot radius, has disadvantage on attack rolls against you as the light jolts if it attacks you. In addition, the next attack roll against it has advantage, and if that attack hits, the target takes an extra 1d6 lightning damage. So here we basically have an always-on sort of feel for a quasi guiding bolt type thing, right? Actually, a bit of like witch bolt in there too. You deal an extra one. Yeah. You do get the extra blocking speed. Not terrible. Help with the dex check, the stealth checks. I would actually say that Armorer is probably above Battlesmith. It is doing something very different with the Artificer chassis. I honestly get a little bit lost in looking at Alchemist battles. I mean, you guys just saw, right? I completely fucked up thinking that Battlesmith and Artillerist were like, you know, whatever. I think that this one is actually pretty significant, and depending on some combinations that you could go with the modified like pieces of the heavy armor and whatnot, I think this could actually be one of the strongest options. I'm actually quite tempted to like push it this way, but Artillerist does have a lot of single target damage. An insane amount of tip HP, and publish is just solid now. Yeah, I think that Armor, I'm probably going to put it right up there into... I think it's cozy right here. Alchemist. Okay, chat, you all tell me, because I kind of have my own feelings about it. I'm saying D. D, potions are so weak. D, fails in design, no higher than C. Require homebrew to fill it nicely. D. So, let's talk about why. I was thinking D to the point of me designing an entire class. Number one, the narrative for me for this Alchemist already puts us in a way different feel for what I think like people were expecting out of the class, right? What they would come to expect out of an Alchemist for D&D, and this is kind of meh. Like, I don't think that people really wanted a spellcaster. Whenever they want this archetype, I don't think that they wanted this attached to a specific chassis, right? Too much action cost for that buff. Yeah, the experimental elixir is a thing that turns a lot of people off on this. Here's the thing. This might be a little bit finicky right here. Here's the weird thing, right? I'm trying to remember exactly how this worked, because I know that you can pick the elixir's effect, and then it says that you have to roll for it somewhere else. That's at the part of a long rest, except you can spend a spell slot to create the elixir. Okay, yeah. Now I'm remembering how this was going. Okay, this is just really not good play feel for 5e. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can magically produce an experimental elixir in a... You have to roll on the table for the elixir's effect, yada, yada, yada. But you can spend spell slots to make an elixir that you can control which one it's going to get. Resilience is nice. Swiftness is all right. Healing, kind of meh. This feels like this is just going to be a clunkier and worse cure wounds. But there is a way for somebody else to get one of these elixirs and then administer it to somebody else. So that's kind of noteworthy there. They can roll a d4 and add a number roll to every attack roll and saving throw they make for the next minute. Boldness is actually quite good. And then this one is situationally strong. I just don't really like the randomness behind this design right here. I don't like that this once per long rest feature is like 1d6 to control what I get. No, nobody really wanted a wild magic feel out of this one. I think the chaos in that is kind of meh. Freebie Lesser Restoration is not terrible at 9th level. That's actually quite good. And then there is, you're dishing out a lot of temporary hit points with that. Greater Restoration and Heal without expending a spell slot. I think that Alchemist, a lot of people probably dump on a lot more than it deserves. Hey, what up, Trio Monk? Yeah, what up, man? I think that this one is probably poor. That random roll just makes this not super great. Exactly the amount it deserves. It is not, yeah, I would rather have the control over what I'm creating here. And I think that randomness to the long rest thing, and then you get one for free, and then you get these other effects that you could spend your spell slots on to like do things with. The control is decent, but generally I think that this one's actually pretty poor, because I don't know that most of these effects, I mean, 10 feet of fly speed for 10 minutes, I would call that probably a first level spell. Yeah, probably. I think that boldness is actually likely better than a first level spell. Resilience is very good, because that's going to stack with any other effects that they have too. I honestly think that the Alchemist, it's probably in D. It's probably in D. It's not an F. No. This is not an F. It might be the unreliability of it that's making us want to kick it down even further. I also think that there's probably a little bit of bias because I wrote the Alchemist class, and I'm like, I think I was trying to address a lot of my problems with this concept as a whole over there. I think that this one is probably one of this. Okay, inarguably, this is the worst Artificer. It's absolutely the worst Artificer. I think I'm going to let chat take this over. And I think that we'll put it in D for the mere fact that it is the worst Artificer. And it has that element of randomness that is just not super great to play with. Even touch my Alchemist, trust this subclass is a zero satisfaction, isn't broken social uses, but pretty close, solid D.